Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. On a now turned snowy Saturday afternoon, working on my rear anti-roll bar, sway bar for my 47 Ford pickup project. Last night I came out, I find, sidebar, working on big projects, or me, I got many projects going. Sometimes, if I thought about it all at once, it seems overwhelming on purpose. But last night after dinner, my goal was to come out and just hone the bushings to make the sway bar work. It's buttery smooth too. That probably took an hour or so. And I came out, knocked it out, went back in the house. Checked that off the list. So today I could come out and start mocking it up to the chassis. Same deal. I come out this morning, half asleep. I had a few things off my checklist. One, the sway bar came with brackets welded to it, just flat bar, and they needed to be notched. So I notched them 1 5/8 to fit the shock cross member, and had already measured the width of the brackets that came pre-welded and the width of the inside of my frame. And I needed a 3/4 spacer on either side. What makes an excellent spacer? A 1/2 nut with a 3/4 hex. So that's exactly what I got clamped up in here, not only side to side, but to space it off the frame here. It clears, inches as good as a mile. So that's gonna work, and that's just all clamped in place. And I focus my attention now to the actual rods that are going to attach to the rear end. Here's a better look, how everything is spaced out and notched up to the shock cross member. Another 1/2 nut there, just spacing it out so I can weld it to the shock cross member first. Then I'll probably make some kind of flat bracket here or tubular, I'm not sure, just to help support it. I mean, this is the way it comes, meant to run that way, but I think we can improve upon that. On the back side for the sway bar links, I'm actually going to thread this bolt in from the inside. The rod end will be over here. So everything will be inside the frame rail. The tire would rub there before it hit anything. I want to drop down to this set of holes, run a bolt through, but this hole is 1/2 inch. I'm trying to run a 3/8 rod end. I have some 1/2 inch OD tubing, 3/8 ID, but it's kind of sloppy in the hole. I mean, it's acceptable most of the time, but in this case, everything's, by design is going to be stressing up and down. So I started machining a bushing out of a piece of tubing that was slightly bigger. Now it's going to be almost a hammer fit, and there'll be a small piece on either side to sandwich the rod end, and they're going to lean in slightly to go up to there. So that's my plan. Over here on the Race 55, this is what we're shooting for. I like that these links have a hex for a wrench. I may have to incorporate that into mine, but that's the general concept. I recently made mention of my shoe boxes. I don't know how many of these I have around the shop. I couldn't think of a better way, unless the entire shop was a bolt bin, which isn't sealed, to separate things, for instance, like bushing material. Every piece of random tubing or actual spacer or bushing that I can think of ends up in here, and a day like today comes in handy when I found that piece of tubing that was correct to make the bushings that I needed, or spacers, whatever you want to call them, combination of both. I guess sometimes it pays to be a pack rat, like when I was knocking out the bracket to notch, just a random piece of tubing I couldn't bring myself to throw away, because one, I was practicing welding whenever, not bad either, and today it became a tool to mark out for notching. Excuse me. All this stuff takes a long time. Every little piece you got to make, parts you got to find, it just takes forever. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I never used to be good at you know, if I didn't force myself to go do something, I'd feel bad about, you know, if you're tired, you got to rest. But if you got the energy to go do something and you can knock out just one thing, it's great. Never underestimate yourself. I was surprised. I never put this whole timeline together, but March of 2023, a friend of mine sent me pictures. He had a plasma table that he bought. He lives a half hour away from me. And he had cut out and made his own large banjo or cello style bead roller. Pretty generous, like 36 throat depth. Really big, bigger than you can buy, probably. And long story short, he made me a couple cheap plates. I traded him something, don't remember what. So on a nice Saturday, March 18th, I was looking back through pictures on my phone last night. I drove to his house, which was a beautiful day. You could see Mount Washington, which is the highest mountain on the northern part of the United States, I believe. It was covered in snow. It was beautiful. Picked him up, came back on a Saturday afternoon, laid the stuff out. I lost, I don't know how many days to machining both the bushings for the shafts to ride in and the shafts themselves. I wasted a day and a half at least trying to make some old shafts work. Finally, my buddy Charlie said, hey, I got some shafting that'll work perfect for that, thus saving me. So I completed that bead roller, complete with the wheel around stand, die holders, dies. My goal was to make a giant bead roller that took the cheaper dies, the 22 millimeter or 7/8 dies. I got videos on it if you want to go back and look at it, right around March and April of 2023. So, as often happens when I do a project like that, I get all excited about whatever the subject is. And there's a guy named Lazi. Look him up. He does awesome sheet metal work. He has his own line of bead rollers. They're a square tubing type, and the upper shaft slides in and out. His are pretty short. I mean, he's a master. I'm not going to doubt him, but I decided, while I had half the stuff laid out, to build one of those too. I made it supersize, giant throat, made my upper shaft move in and out. That allows you to do different things with the dies. And I built that thing complete, painted, work table, die holder, roll around stand, everything. I did them both in 23 days, and that's not all day, every day. That's spare time. That's working, you know, during the day and doing all your other normal duties that come every day and every week. 23 days, 2 complete bead rolls standing next to each other. So never had I put the timeline together, and it was very inspiring to think if you just do a little bit when you can, stuff happens. If you don't do anything, nothing happens. I did finally put a battery in my clicker. Let's see if it works. It worked. It started to affect the quality of my videos when the battery goes dead. There's just enough power to turn the camera on, and then I can't shut it back off. So, pretty random video. That's okay. Moving forward on the project. I'm still working on the 496 big block as parts trickle in. I hope to this weekend. It's already halfway through Saturday, but get out my silly putty and cover the piston top, put one of the heads on, come up with some push rods and rocker arms and roll it over to make sure everything clears. So I'll be clear to put the heads on hopefully next week. Now, I found, for instance, this week I had set goals. I actually talked about them in the video where that chassis is going to be rolling out of here. Well, that didn't happen. Not for lack of trying, but that's the way it is. It's okay. Keep moving forward. So have a great day. Talk to you soon. One thing I love about my buddy Corey, who did the plasma cutting for me for the bead roller, is like all good friends, you don't talk every day. Sometimes it could be months, years, but the next time you talk, it's like you talked yesterday. It's probably 3 minutes of midnight the other night, might have been Cyber Monday, and he texts me in a panic. He says, look, you got 3 minutes to get this deal, a Milwaukee Fuel die grinder, 24,500 RPM. Wow. M12, I was all M18 until I took some M12 stuff in trade. I kind of like it. Sometimes it's compact and small. This was a whole kit through Home Depot. Fuel, and you got a new battery, a 4.0. That's pretty good. That's a much nicer battery than I have. Another charger, which I only have a zillion of them anyway. It was shipped for less than 150 bucks. He said he bought 4 of them. He does a lot of metal work. Really talented guy. But I took advantage of it. Didn't come with a die grinder bit. I just put that in there. But cool. But yeah, that's he's an interesting cat. You never know when you're gonna hear from him next. But he's always thinking of other people, so that's cool. I try to do the same, but at 3 or 4 minutes of midnight, I probably not, before the deal expired, gonna send all my friends list, you know, but some would appreciate it, maybe. Have a good day, bye.